Hello there, it's Sandip, and in this short video I'm going to show you a common mistake people make when playing the Rubinstein variation of the French defense. So it's made by Black, and it's been seen over 600,000 times in the Lichess database. It's pretty much never played at the top level. If you download Stockfish, it gives a +1 evaluation, but it's very difficult to punish, and so we're going to learn how to do this. So after e4, e6, the French defense, of course, we have d4, d5, all standard stuff, knight c3. And here the game can go off in many directions. Knight f6, I believe that's called a classical variation. Bishop b4, the winner, and d takes e4, the Rubinstein variation. All of this is played at the top level. So this mistake requires the Rubinstein, so d takes e4, knight takes e4. And amazingly, here in the Lichess database, the most popular continuation by the everyday player is to play the move knight f6, which has been seen over 600,000 times. If we toggle here to the masters database, pretty much no one plays knight f6. It has been played a bit. Interestingly, when top players do this, the win rate for white significantly increases from the percentages in the 30s to the 40s. So on Lichess, a very popular continuation, knight f6, and now Stockfish says white is +1. But it can be difficult to punish, and this is sort of one of my favorite things to do in chess, is to figure out how to put these dubious lines under pressure. So the key thing to do here is to play knight takes f6, and here you could take with the g pawn, but then obviously you damage the structure around the black king, and so most people are going to play queen takes f6. And here, what are the ideas for white? So first of all, note that there's no knight on f6, and the knight is a king's best friend, and when a king castles, you kind of need a knight on f6 to give some protection of the h7 square. And so the ideas for white is going to be to play the move knight f3, bishop d3, and to execute this maneuver with the white queen, where you go to e2 and e4 and h4. That's the ideas, and we're going to see why that's so important. So after knight f3, perfectly reasonable, we have the move h6. This makes sense. This, I believe, the engine improves of, because bishop g5 is just annoying. If bishop g5 happens, then the queen has one square. So h6 makes sense, and herein lies one of the problems with playing this variation in the Rubinstein line of the French. You're kind of wasting time making pawn moves. You really need to be developing your pieces. So now you have bishop d3. A top move makes sense. c4 would make no sense. The bishop would be blunted. On d3, it eyes up this nice diagonal and the h7 square. And here, bishop d6, a top move. Here, people with the white pieces are castling, and you don't need to. So the key thing to do is to play the move queen e2. And you can see here in the Lichess database, when people find this move queen e2, the win rate for white is very high. It's 61%. And we're going to look at why. So after queen e2, the problem is that black really can't castle, and so the black king is stuck in the center. If you castle, then queen e4 gains a tempo on black, which is very dangerous, because queen e4 threatens mate in 1. But this is exactly what people do in the Lichess database. So they play castles, and this is an important rule, an important kind of instructive moment for the everyday player. Just because your king has castle doesn't mean it's any safer. And so now queen e4, very natural, you have to now stop mate. And what's remarkable about this position, it's very difficult for black to do anything useful in this position. So you can see here pairs play this move g6, but if you do that, you're just hanging the h6 pawn. You can go ahead and take it, and this is a winning position for white. Players are playing this move queen g6, and you are just hanging a pawn as well, because after queen takes, f takes g6, bishop takes g6. I believe this is +2, +3 on the engine. White is just completely winning. So naturally, players in the database are going for this move queen f5, go for a queen exchange, remove the threat. And this makes sense. The key thing to do here is to not go for this queen exchange, play queen h4. And now what does black do? If you play queen f6, which some people are doing, it's game over, because after bishop g5, you can't take because it's mate. And where is this black queen going to go? It's trapped, and it's time to resign. So after queen h4, what are black's options? You can see people in the database are delivering this check, queen a5 check, and I think that's a top engine move. And now bishop d2, developing the bishop, And what's interesting about this position is that it doesn't matter where this queen goes, you can look for this sack on h6. That's a key idea here as well in this line. So as an illustration, after queen b6, we have bishop takes h6, and black cannot take. If you take after queen takes h6, there's no way to stop mate. I believe the engine wants you to do some silly thing like deliver this check, bring the queen over here, hang it, and just keep the game going for a while. Human players are going to do that. Maybe a human player plays something like rook e8, give the king some breathing room. And here is a basic mate. Bishop h7, check, king h8, bishop g6, check, king g8, queen h7, check, king f8, and queen f7, checkmate. So checkmate is unavoidable after g takes h6. I think in this position, the engine wants you to play something like f5, but this is terrible as well because the queen is then going to move onto the g file, and now this pawn is pinned, and yeah, it's terrible. An interesting line here, or an amusing line, is when black goes for this move, bishop b4, trying to go for an exchange. The key thing here is to not allow the exchange because you want to play this move, bishop takes h6, so you just play c3. And I believe if you turn on the engine, it wants you to just give up the bishop. Of course, people are not going to do that. They're going to play this move, bishop d6, and now you just sack in a completely winning position. So just remember that after we go back, just quickly summarize. After knight f6, we take, they'll take with the queen. And the key idea is that after knight f3, h6, bishop d3, bishop d6, the key thing here to do is to play the move queen e2, queen e4, queen h4. And that is going to put black under a lot of pressure. So hope you enjoyed that video, and if you have any comments on it, do leave it below. Thank you very much for your time.